In this episode, I'm going to cover briefly programmatic sizing versus flow sizing and cover those layout types. I'll show examples of programmatic layout, and then I'll show examples of flow layout, and then a little bit of mixed of both programmatic and flow. So to get started, I'm going to go to our Edash example, and you can find this in our guides right at the home page. And you can see that this is basically a programmatic layout. And what does that mean? All the elements here are giving a set size or set pixel size either by the parent or by the viewport, the very root widget, or by some specific set pixel size. So in this case, the outer widgets or the top of the tree gives all the children the specific sizes based on how you specify that layout data. And I'm going to cover this more in future episodes, like vertical layout container sizing and horizontal layout container sizing and how that works, because some of it can be fluid and some of it can be specific. So in this case, I'll just cover, you can see that there's no basically scrolling here except for a little bit of, because of the size, we can correct that. And I can show how to do that. And we can look at different things here. So let's look at the company news. Here we have more of a flow layout. Each item or each element has a specific size and can flow. Well, let's look at Sencha.com. It's really more or less a flow layout because everything stacks and you can see it flows like a newspaper or it flows as in scrolling. So each one naturally sized based on, the size of the element or the size of the widget. And the size adds up and it horizontally scrolls. Okay, so that's a couple different layouts. Let's look at, and it depends. Okay, so let's look at, I want to go back to the overview. In this case, programmatically sizing layout works great because we're telling JavaScript to do the sizing. So each item or each widget is giving a layout data width and height based on what I want it to be. So that is reflected in all browsers. That's easy. Well, flow layouts are a little bit more challenging because naturally sizing the widget has typically behaved different in the older browsers versus the new browsers. Today in the modern browser market, it gets much easier. So then layouts are much easier to use. The native JavaScript API or the native DOM APIs or browser APIs that do sizing and container building and rendering. So then let's say we have a mixed layout. This is more or less, if we go back to company news, this is a mixed layout. Like this is a border layout container and here we have a left, which is kind of a static and it doesn't move on the page. But then we have a flow container, and flow layouts tend to be leaf nodes or leaf widgets. And in this leaf widget, basically, which is in the center here, it flows and scrolls. So we could have naturally sized widget, when I mean naturally sized means the content inside the widget pushes out the outer boundaries of the widget. So the widget, everything wraps the size of what's inside that widget, the content. Okay, so that's mixed layout. So in the next two episodes, I'm going to cover, or the next three or so, I'm going to cover programmatic layout and what does that mean. And then I'll go into flow layout and what does that mean. And flow layouts could be, using the HTML layout container. And let's just cover that real quickly here. So in GXT, we have the layout containers, and there's two types. If we scroll down, and you'll want to zoom into this, I color-coded it. So if you zoom in, we'll go over to the key. We have the basic container. Then we have document flow, which is the flow layout containers, just like the scrolling or newspaper or magazine. And then we have children resized layouts, and those are logically sized layouts with layout data given to each children, and it's passed down at like ancestry in the human genome. So in this case, we look at layout data. So over here we have some of the GWT containers and how they react to. I won't cover those in this episode. Okay, so if we go back to let's X out of this. And if we look at the containers here, let me just expand over here. We have some different types of containers, and I'll be covering these in the next episode. And one of them I really want to cover is the Flex layout, how that works in modern browsers. And that's more of a flow layout where the browser does the sizing, not the JavaScript logic or the Java logic that we determine and set with layout data. We give it CSS properties that tell the browser to do the magic. So in this case, this concludes basically what I'm talking about in the layouts in this episode. Thanks for watching. Follow me for more videos on layouts, and I'll catch you later.